Hey, what's up? It's Jake, and I wanted to talk to you about zero downtime deployments with Terraform. So this is a hugely important topic, and so make sure you're paying attention to this one. Okay, so let's say we build an environment, um, and you want to, let's say we're using our web server cluster, so we have a load balancer, and behind that, I have a target group that has an auto scaling group in it and all the instances in there are being load balanced and I access them from there. And everything's being created from an AWS launch template. And we want to say update our AMI. So right now, the way I'm doing this is I have a data file that just goes and finds the most recent version of an AMI owned by Amazon that has this name value. And then I put a splat here so that whatever the version is, it just grabs the latest version, but it's always Amazon 2 AMI HVM x86-64 EBS. And this is a great pattern. Um, but sometimes when you run this, you might get an updated AMI. So then what happens? Well, I'll tell you what happens. If you have an auto scaling group that's configured to do this with a launch template, what's going to happen is if you're using a launch configuration, what'll end up happening is you'll get a new configuration and then it might start deleting things. Or if you change your auto scaling group, it might start deleting things. So what I did was um, I just kind of made a scenario where I have an auto scaling group that I want to change. And if I change this, it's going to delete my auto scaling group and then rebuild the new one. The problem with that is if you change your auto scaling group and it gets deleted, your users are going to experience downtime because there's not going to be anything in the target group for the load balancer to forward traffic to. So what's a girl to do? Well, all you have to do is add this lifecycle block. And this lifecycle, you just add in an option called create before destroy and set to true. And what it's going to do is it's going to create the new auto scaling group before it destroys the old one. So the load balancer will actually be balancing traffic from one. And then when the other one's ready, it's just automatically going to start bouncing to the new one. And then when it's load balancing to the new one, it will start to delete the old auto scaling group. So you can life cycle a lot of things. It's definitely worth trying and see where you can make your stuff not just fault tolerant, but um, destruction free. So you want it to destroy the autoscaling group, but you don't want it to destroy it first, right? You want to have zero downtime. So one way you can do that is by creating or adding create before destroy life cycles on some of your resources. In this case, like an autoscaling group. Um, and I did this for the template itself, so you don't actually need to update anything in your root module. So you can see here in my web server cluster, it doesn't actually, I don't need to add a variable. There's nothing I need to do. It's just built into the module. So when I pull in this source, that it's just part of that source. So it's kind of handy. So anyways, that's that's really it. There's a lot of documentation on this, and I was reading through everything, and a lot of it still uses launch configurations. I please urge you use launch templates, not launch configurations. Um, and if you need to update your launch template, as you see here, like I have a lot of different variables here, but I use a launch template. It's pretty easy because if you're using a launch template, then what happens is um, like for my image ID, if my image is updated, it doesn't delete my auto scaling group. It doesn't delete my configuration. It doesn't do any of that. It just creates a new version of the launch template that has a different AMI attached, like associated with it. So at that point, what will happen is once the servers are um, deleted or for whatever reason, go away, then just every instance that's created after that will just have the new AMI. So, um, but yeah, that is basically how you would do a zero downtime deployment in the scope of like an auto scaling group with a launch template. So if you have any questions, let me know. There's not really anything for me to demo. I could build everything and then change the AMI and then rebuild it and show you, but it takes a long time to do that. So what I would say is just go try it on your own and then come back and tell me if you have any questions. But it's really simple. All you need to do, like I said, is just add that life cycle policy, and you're good to go. So definitely check out and see what other resources can you add life cycle policies to. Which ones have something, which ones don't. For the ones that don't, does that going to impact you? Like what happens if you change your AMI? And just see what happens. I like to keep mine dynamic so that if I have my AMI, so if I have to use a different region, this AMI or availability zone, even this AMI ID is dynamic, so it doesn't matter where I am, it's going to find the latest one. So anyways, that's how I built mine, and you can choose to do this pattern or not choose not to do this pattern. It's up to you, but yeah, have fun and go make zero downtime deployments.